Let's talk a little bit about the technology. Video conferencing has been around for years, and it tended to not be used a lot because it was very expensive. You had to hook a bunch of phones together. It's changed now. How do you use it, and how does it work?
All right, you're right. In the early days of video conferencing, and in this day and age where technology is changing so quickly, we talked about the early days as perhaps 10 years ago, like we're all old men. But anyhow, yes, it began with ISDN video conferencing took place using telephone lines, and typically we'd see 3 dedicated phone lines on each end and upwards, sometimes more, to send that video conference, the video and the audio through a telephone system. With the proliferation of the internet and the World Wide Web, the equipment that's being used now primarily uses IP, internet, and data networks connected through people's areas of work, schools, institutions. The internet's pretty ubiquitous, so the information travels throughout the world just as easily as it would across a city. And I mean, just like you and I could visit a website just as easily from somewhere in Europe, we could visit a website that's hosted here in Edmonton at no additional cost. So in terms of the cost, you're limited primarily by the the internet service agreement that you have with your service provider. As well, I guess the other major difference is the quality of the video conference. In terms of bandwidth, ISDN would typically run somewhere around 256 kilobits per second, upwards to maybe 384, whereas IP video conferencing, I would say 384 is probably our lower end, and we have video conference connections happening up to 1 megabyte and upwards, 2 megabytes and so on. So you're only limited by with the proliferation of the internet and fiber optic networks. I mean, you're pretty much only limited by your level of service and the switches between your internet system.